Colby and I are heading up to tour 80 acres, just 15 minutes from the proving grounds. Grant and I were there a couple years ago, designed a habitat management plan, and the landowner got to work, has done some great work, and going up to kind of do a follow-up, kind of see what he's got going on, look at his food plots and his native habitat. He recently did a burn a couple months ago, so super excited to get back out on this 80 acres and see what it looks like. Out today with Chad. We visited, I think, January of 21. Chad's got 80 acres here in southern Missouri. Man, when we were out here, I remember this plot. It was lip high.
Yes.
We could see gravel. Scat was laying on top of the ground, and there were just a pile of deer coming in and browsing in here. And now this fall release that you planted last fall, it's coming on and has done really good. Like, I pull this up, I remember it was rocky, and now we're starting to see some soil.
Yeah.
There's still some rocks in there.
You scared me when you went down to pull that up because you hadn't checked that yet, so I was really nervous about what you were going to get, but that looks a lot better than I expected it to be.
I can see in the gaps, it's not bare like it was. Even in 2 years, you've started building up a duff layer of plants. Yeah. And it's not only just what we see on top, but the root system. You've had something growing in here, and there's duff and it's covering the soil now. It's not just that bare rocky soil like we were seeing when we toured. Yeah. And this is awesome. And you've got clover in here, which has provided high quality forage during the spring, and now the rye. And as we were talking about, it's still in the dough stage, so you have time and you can crimp. And as we've been driving, there's some spots that are a little on the weedy side, but this looks really good. And you could crimp this, and some spots that are a little weedy, you're not quite here yet, we're gonna spray.
Yeah, that was more than I expected when you reached down there to pull that up, because this was all basically rock.
It was
the
rocky.
First year I was here, I disc it, and of course I grew rocks and more rocks. But that seems like what's going on here is working, to build soil.
You've done a really good job. It's not just up top here. We have a lot of roots down in the soil working for you to help build some organic matter down there, and we're improving the microbes in the soil, and everything's working together. And I mean, then what we see right now is also going into really healthy plots for your fall hunts and providing quality forage to hunt over.
Well, just the fact that I've sat there numerous times and always seen deer is growing up hunting not over food plots is amazing to me.
Yeah.
I mean, just to have something here for the deer to come to, and seeing deer every hunt. And we've killed, I think in the last 3 years or 4 years, 5 mature bucks out of that blind right there.
Wow.
So yeah, it's been phenomenally above my expectations as far as hunting wise.
80 acres, you have a food source in the middle of your property, and around you is hardwood timber and some cattle pasture
For the most part.
and acorns in the fall.
Right.
And when your food plots really shine, you have the food.
Yeah.
And you see so many more deer just adding that little bit.
Yeah. Growing up hunting, I never hunted in food plots or around food plots, never did any habitat management, just hunted because I love to hunt.
Yeah.
And having food plots is a game changer for being able to see deer. I mean, it's amazing. Just the activity, just to be able to see the way they interact with each other, and it's a lot of fun.
You've sent us a lot of videos of bucks you're seeing and deer you see while hunting out of that redneck. And even when Grant and I aren't seeing deer, you seem to be seeing deer just because we have food a little more spread out.
Have choice.
And your food is pretty much on this one ridge. Yeah. And so when deer have to come to food, they're coming here, and you're seeing a lot of deer. Yeah. And have had some great hunts.
For sure.
Super proud of you for your work on your food plots, but you've also been improving the habitat on the slopes, trying to improve that native habitat as well.
Yeah, and I think this property needs more cover, and I think
yes,
it will help eventually provide more cover for the deer, because there's not a lot here.
I remember when we were first touring and we could stand on one slope and just look into the other slope. Of course, it was January, all the leaves were off, but it was just a gravel bank.
Yeah.
And there was no sunlight hitting the ground. And we're going to walk over here and show you some of this habitat Chad's been working on, because he's done a really good job of kind of doing that first step of some TSI, and then did a burn, follow-up dormant season burn this winter. And there's a lot of native habitat responding to that fire. So let's go look in the timber and see what we can find. I'm super excited to see what's down there and see the results of your habitat work.
Let's go. This area down here is very similar to the ridge where the food plot is when I first came out here 5 years ago. Looked very similar to this right here starting out. It wasn't quite this bad, but it was very, very close to looking like this.
It's come a really long ways. Look at this, folks. It's gravel. Nothing's growing here. We just showed you up on top of that ridge how much soil is holding the roots, living roots, in that food plot. And it is night and day difference from this to what we saw up on that food plot.
After 3 years.
4 years? 4 years,
yeah.
This is rocks. Just a few weeks ago, we were down in East Texas, and it was sand. Same story. And a few weeks before that, we were down in South Carolina. It was red clay. Same story. It was bare. Started putting, the release process to work, putting living roots in the soil, keeping that ground covered, building some organic matter with roots, vegetation, protecting the soil, and within just a few years, really improving the soil and turning it into some high-quality food plot soil and food plot forage.
Growing Deer is brought to you by Bass Pro Shops and Cabela's. Also by Green Cover Food Plots, Winchester, Moultrie Mobile, Fleet Outdoor Apparel, Morel Targets, RTP Outdoors, Fourth Arrow, Scorpion Venom Archery, Case IH Tractors, Ward Laboratories, Burris Optics, National Land Realty, G5 Broadheads, Prime Bows, and Redneck Hunting Blinds.
So Chad and I have been walking through one of the areas he recently had some TSI done, and most of his trees we terminated using the double girdling method. And they did that during the winter. Was it January or February?
2 years ago.
2 years ago. And of course you can tell this tree is already dead and starting to drop bark. You look up top, it's dropped some limbs. Double girdle about 6 inches apart. And they probably applied herbicide to that top girdle. And that...
Yes, and I wasn't here when they did it, but I'm assuming that's the process.
Yeah. That's most effective when you double girdle. If you can double girdle and then add herbicide to that top girdle, you have the highest kill rate, termination rate. So they double girdled, opened up a lot of the canopy, especially in this area. You can see back behind us, there's a lot of sunlight reaching the ground. And of course, we've got some big mature oaks around here. And we like those big mature oaks. They're beautiful to look at. They produce a lot of acorns. They don't have the competition of this tree sucking water and nutrients from some of these higher quality trees nearby. And we're getting sunlight to the ground and getting a lot more native cover and browse for wildlife. So
this was burned about 3.5 weeks ago, so I think it's going to come on.
Hold on, right? You got a tick on you right there. The first one we found.
Get rid of that.
Yeah.
Ticks and rocks, right?
Definitely want to kill that, get rid of that.
So I think it was about 3.5 weeks ago that we burned through here. So.
And already greening up.
Yeah. For sure.
Incredible response.
Before there was absolutely nothing.
It was rock.
Yeah, well, yeah.
I remember it was bare rock. When we walked through here during our initial tour, I mean, it looked like a pool table through here, just full of chunk rock. And now there's forage, and we've been walking through here, and there's been a pile of browse, young pokeweed. I mean, there was some pokeweed that was as big as my thumb that had been browsed off. Right now, some of these stems are just putting on that new growth and pretty palatable. And we're also seeing, because they burned so late, a little later in the dormant season, some of these young saplings, they top killed and they've sprouted. And now all those nutrients that were being put up into those hardwood saplings
that the deer can't reach
are now at ground level.
Sure.
And those minerals and nutrients are very concentrated, and they are browsing on them. So you've done really good work here. And this is just step one.
Did what you guys told me.
You opened up the canopy, got sunlight to the ground, and this looks awesome. Now, you were talking about, there's some skeletons out here the fire didn't consume, of the cedars, because there were some cedars here. We just felled those.
Yes.
We didn't need to double girdle or apply herbicide. We just fell them, and they died because we cut below the lowest limb. And there's a few skeletons out here, but over time those will be consumed by fire, and this will keep getting better and better. And there's some areas that didn't get quite enough sunlight to the ground. We didn't terminate quite as many trees as we probably should have. Yeah. But what's great about the hack and squirt or the double girdling method is once you go through there and you see that, you can find those pockets and you go back and you touch it up.
Yeah, it won't take a whole lot more.
No. Now you may only have 5 or 6 trees around one big tree you need to hit. Yeah. And then you're opening up a lot of canopy then. So it's a real easy next step to really improve this habitat.
It's looking a lot better, for sure.
Oh, it is. It is. And your next fire, as we're working through here, I'm seeing a lot of woody stems. Like I said, some saplings were top killed, and now there's 5, 6, 20 stems that coming up. His next fire is going to be a growing season fire, late summer, which is going to then set back some of these hardwood saplings that are coming on. And that'll help with the blackberries that will outcompete and outshade some of the forbs and grasses that we want in here. And there's some sumac, there's some woody species coming on, which is fine, but that next fire has to be a growing season fire.
And just alternate them.
And we'll then alternate them. And you asked earlier, you said, can I burn it this summer? And I said, probably not, because there's just not going to be enough fuel to carry that fire through here. So we need to make sure we have enough fuel to carry that fire, but next summer, you don't want to miss it. Because then what will happen is you get down the road a year or two, those woody species are up higher and are a little stronger and may survive that growing season fire. So looking great. You are really coming on your project. So you have some acres of native, and it butts right up next to your food plot. And so we've got food and cover in real close proximity. And we often talk about, the goal of Chad's hunting plan is he wants to see deer, and you want to see and harvest mature deer. You're looking for 4-year-old bucks or so. And seeing those bucks during daylight hours, the closer we can put that food to cover, the more chance of seeing those deer during daylight hours, because those deer don't have to move very far from that cover to food. Yeah. And sure enough, Chad is seeing a pile of deer out of the redneck up here on the ridge. Mm-hmm. And that's just part of his overall hunting plan of putting that food in cover. Now, if you have a longer distance between cover and food, if you're hunting right on the food source, those deer may not be coming to that food source till after dark, and then you have to hunt those transition areas or those travel corridors. But you want to be able to hunt your food source during hunting hours and see deer. For sure. And the closer we get, and you've seen it.
Stay in the redneck and
that's right.
Not get outside of it.
And I'm telling you folks, you've had some incredible hunts from that redneck.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
And the redneck you're able to get up on top of that ridge and see a long ways. And we were talking about your strategy on the redneck, keeping some windows closed to really conceal that scent. And you were showing me some videos of bucks just like 6 yards away.
Yeah, right down below us.
Walking right by you, and it was awesome. So I'm super proud of you, Chad.
Well,
you're doing a great job. You're doing a great job.
I'm glad you're close.
Yeah, we're pretty much neighbors, yeah, if you will.
For sure.
And Chad was also saying he killed a turkey this spring, and that turkey was actually in this burn when you heard him gobble.
Right down the hill.
Right down the hill. And Chad was coming along this ridge top and called him up and put him on the ground. So that fresh burn played a key role for Chad tagging a tom too. So I hope you're able to get outside this week and enjoy creation. Maybe start on some habitat improvement projects or start, preparing for fall hunting season. But no matter what you're doing, slow down, enjoy creation, and listen to what the Creator is saying to you and the purpose He has for your life. Thanks for watching Growing Deer.